this activity, we'll introduce the basics of electrical engineering by looking at the ways in which a music player outputs sound using an electrical signal. We'll take that electrical signal and plug it directly into a speaker to see what we get out of it. We also will introduce the idea of breadboards and how breadboards work.
This module works with any music player with a standard headphone jack. In order to make the module more interesting for your students, they should be encouraged to bring in and use their own music players. Here are the materials we will be using for Activity 1. A small speaker, a breadboard, a music player, and a wire with a headphone plug. Part 1 is simple enough. By holding these wires together, the electrical signal transmitted by the music player is converted into sound by the speaker. You might notice that the speaker is very quiet. This is something that is addressed in the next activity. Holding these wires together isn't very convenient. That's where this comes in. Breadboards are devices used by engineers to build and test circuits. There are a few things we need to know about breadboards before we can begin using them. All 5 holes in a single row are connected inside the breadboard. Opposite halves of the breadboard are not connected. These columns on either side of the breadboard are called power rails. Power rails are connected vertically. For our purposes, we will be using the negative blue rail on the left and the positive red rail on the right. So that a good connection is ensured, it is important that the wire ends are inserted straight into the holes on the breadboard. You should encourage your students to try a few different configurations using what they learned about breadboards. In TechXcite modules, it is particularly important to connect science and engineering concepts to the activities. For example, you might ask your students at the end of Activity 1, how do music players transmit sound to your headphones? At this point, students should know that the answer is electricity. You can find more questions like this one at the end of the instructor's guide for each activity.